Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson. Man, it feels so good to win. Even when you expect to win and expect to win big, it still feels so good to win. That's not to say there weren't some teachable moments on Saturday. There were. We got off to a slow start offensively. But at the end of the day, you think about this, all those points still count. Like if we had scored 45 points in the first half and 3 in the second half, the narrative would have been, well, I don't understand why we took our foot off the gas in the second half. We played 4 quarters, and you add up all the points you score over the course of a ball game, and the one who scores the most is declared the winner. That's how that works. No matter when they're scored or how they're scored, who does the scoring, whatever. But we won. And I'm going to celebrate a victory here today. Hope you guys are as well. And again, I think it's a best case scenario for our coaches. And I said this in mine and David Murray's post-game wrap-up. You take care of business, you get out of there healthy, but you also have some moments where you can correct the team and say, you know what, hey, yeah, you won by 41 points. However, you should have done this. It should have been a shutout. Do we not agree on that? You had that one drive, that 79-yard drive, and we had them in a 3rd and 20, and we miss a couple tackles, and they go right down the field and score. You make a tackle there, it's a shutout. Southeastern really couldn't do anything offensively without our help, despite the fact that they did have a good game plan, as Zach Arnett mentioned. They did come out and try to, work the perimeter and kind of negate our pass rush a little bit, kind of keep our backers out of the backfield, and eventually that began to break down. The difference in the strength and conditioning programs was evident in that second half. You may not know this. They got 55 yards in the second half. 37 of those 55 came on one drive, the final drive against the Bandit defense. So, yes, they had a little bit of success early. They didn't hardly have any success late. You had 6 second-half drives for Southeastern Louisiana. 4 of those 6 ended in 3 and outs. So there's so much that we can look at today, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about this ball game. But also, too, that you look at and say, okay, we got a W. We did. Can we play better? We absolutely can. And to me, that is the encouraging aspect of this. Not just the fact we went out there and put up 48 points and won this game going away. Is that we really didn't even play our best game. Had some explosive plays. It's been a while since we've had those. We almost don't know how to act, right? When Creed Whittemore got loose down there on that run, I was looking at the student section, and it's kind of like, oh, yeah, we got cheer. And to our students, before I get into this too deep, I'm going to be honest with everybody here. You students, you guys rock. You packed it out. Very few spaces in the student section that are unoccupied. Of course, later in the ball game, some of you decided to go home and pursue your nighttime entertainment activities. I'd like for you to stay the whole time, but I get it, especially school just starting out. You got your eye on that cute freshman girl. I get it. First big football party weekend of the year. I understand. All of that said, our crowd as a whole, students withstanding. Again, students, I love you guys. Awesome. Guys, we got to pack out Davis Wade Stadium. Simple as that. We always talk about, no. One thing that I will give Dan Mullen a lot of credit for is he said from the beginning, you don't get the big-time football program and then pack out the stadium. You pack out the stadium first, and then you get the big-time program. That's true. You got to be a part of it. So the thing that I go back to is, are we a consumer or are we contributors? It's a real question I think a lot of people have to ask yourself. Are you really committed to Mississippi State? Are you just kind of dating Mississippi State? I'm committed. My life's work is about Mississippi State, right? I don't expect everybody to match that same level of commitment. But, guys, we have not played a football game at Davis Wade Stadium, a real football game, until basically the middle of November. It's been almost 10 months. And you had cooler weather. I know it rained a little bit kind of the morning of. And we didn't come to the game? Well, Steve, it was dove hunting. Guys, come on. I mean, really. Really. You got months and months you can dove hunt. You only got 8 home games for football. I'm not trying to tell you how to spend your life or whatever, but if we want to be a big-time football program, we've got to come out there and pack out Davis Wade Stadium. What message does that send to recruits? What message does that send to the national media? What message does that send to your administration? It's like we want all these new fan amenities, we want a better experience, but we don't come to the games. You know, we have a kid that takes a visit somewhere else and goes and sees an electric atmosphere, and we're like, well, I don't understand. Well, you sat home. I want a big-time football program. I do. I think a lot of people want that. And so, like, Steve, I hate it when you get on the fans. Well, sometimes, I'm going to work a program of rigorous honesty here. We were not where we needed to be from an attendance standpoint yesterday. We weren't. We need you to be here. Not just our Starkville merchants, not just Mississippi State officials. The Mississippi State coaches and players need you to be here. You guys provide one of the most imposing home field advantages in the country. When Davis Wade Stadium is packed out and we got 50-some-odd thousand people ringing cowbells and some guys ringing 2, it's intimidating for those teams. So I'm asking you, I'm begging you, I am imploring you, come to the football game. We got 7 of these left. You can say, Steve, the season just started. We got 7 left. You got 7 chances to come to Davis Wade Stadium this year and help make a difference. And you know what? Some of these ball games, it may boil down to you, quite simply. And then people say, well, Steve, I'm just a fan. No, you're not just a fan. When you come to Davis Wade Stadium and you raise hell out there and you lift the emotions of your team and you diminish the emotions of the opposing team, you are not just a fan. You are a contributor to the Mississippi State football experience. So don't sell yourself short. Come be a part of this. Let's thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company. On Saturday, they had the Jolly Roger on the burgers instead of the regular Bulldog burger stamp in honor of Mike Leach. His family recognized after the first quarter of the ball game. It's good to see. Kind of emotional, but still good to see. I want to thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company for doing that. I know it seems like a small thing, but it's not. It's not a small thing. And again, it goes back to this whole thing about Bulldog Burger Company not just being another restaurant. This is a restaurant that is closely affiliated with the Mississippi State family. They understood the significance of the day. Wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of that. For those of you that may have missed it on Twitter, wanted to make sure you knew that Bulldog Burger Company honored your coach, your former coach, and kind of got this thing going, man. Got this thing going. And that's the thing that's important to understand. It's just, I like doing business with people that do business with us for all the right reasons. And I think you guys do too. Those are the kind of things that I remember. You know what I mean? I remember those things. I remember the fact that the Bulldog Burger Company did that. It matters to me. Mike Leach, obviously, a friend to all of us. Not just a situation where, I got a chance to know the guy. You guys did too. And he did some incredible things at Mississippi State. And he represented us with dignity and class. And so, very appreciative, our friends at Bulldog Burger Company. 3 great locations to serve you: University Drive in Star Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, Lake Harbor Drive in the Rich and Flowwood area. Appreciate all of you guys who turned out on Friday to see the Bonfire Orchestra in Tupelo. Don't forget, coming up later this week on the 6th from 5 to 8 at Bulldog Burger Company in Ridgeland, you're going to have a tap takeover with Chandeleur Island Brewing Company. That's a Mississippi company. They'll be doing a growler giveaway. First place, 64 ounces. Second, third, 32 ounces. A lot of specials that night. The Love Bug Sour, the Guava Jelly Sour, the H90 Surfside Wheat. Also going to be a special new release of the new Key Lime Pie Sour. So if you like that sort of thing, turn out, enjoy that. Bulldog Burger Company in Ridgeland on September the 6th. That's a Wednesday. Be sure you turn out for that. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet, M-E-A-T. All right, let's just jump right into it here. Bulldogs in southeastern Louisiana get together. Second time in school history. Southeastern wins a toss. That's pretty much all they won the entire day. They defer. We go on offense first to open up the Zach Arnett era at Davis Wade Stadium. We get the touchback. Go to work at our 25, and what do? The first thing we do is we run off left side with Jaquavius Marks for 5. We come back and find Tulu for 13, then back to Tulu for 3. That brings up a 2nd and 7, but you're already thinking, you know what? It's pretty apparent that the fans saw the same thing the coaching staff did. Tulu Griffin, one of our most explosive playmakers, underutilized. So let's get him going, get him a couple of touches early. Yeah, and what do you know? He's got 16 yards on his first 2 touches and converts a big first down. On that 2nd and 7 play, we run right with Woody. No gain there. And then incomplete across to Jordan Mosley. Jordan was there. Will just missed him. Had a little bit in his face there, but kind of a disappointing drive to start. You know, you'd like to do better, but we didn't. And then Keelan Crimmins, his first punt, 35 yards inside the 20. To be honest with you, I expect a little bit more there too. All right, Southeastern takes over at their 19, and Harlan Dixon rushed off left side for 14 yards. Guys, that kind of became a consistent theme of the day. Running left. They had a lot of success running left. As a matter of fact, I ran the numbers up on this earlier, even though they had some losses, some runs for loss. Running left side on the day, you got 88 yards. They didn't even run that collectively as a team because they got some losses in the backfield and some plays stacked up on the right side. But when they found success, it was on the left side. And I noted that in my play-by-play column. They found something on the left side. So that's something that everybody's going to see, right? So we've got to find some things to do to shore that up. It got better in the second half, but all that said, they still had four runs of double-digit yards in the second half on that left side. And again, a couple of those are against that Bandit defense. But, most offensive coordinators are right-handed, so you expect them to flow right. They found some success left side running off left tackle. We're going to see a lot better left tackles than we saw on Saturday. So that's something right out of the gate. Even in this 48-7 win, you look at it and say, you know what? That's a teachable moment for us. On that second 1st and 10, it's a short pass to Bauer Sharp for 16. They snapped the ball, wild snap here. We had a chance to get on it. We don't. Zachary Claymore jumps on it for the recovery, makes it 2nd and 19. They rush Dixon at the middle for 6. And then it's a complete to Harlan Dixon for 8, and he fumbles. Jet knocks it loose. We don't get on it. Guys, we forced 4 fumbles on the day, only recovered 1. Got to do a better job there, too. So, again, some teachable moments. But 2 fumbles on the very first drive, and they get them both back. That's not good. And then if they take a delayed game penalty and end up punting, we get it backed up at our 15. Bring in Mike Wright at quarterback, and it's a quarterback keeper, runs for 16 yards. It's a nice element to the offense. It's something that Will Rogers doesn't possess. I think these guys complement each other well. Mike Wright is nowhere in the league of Will Rogers as a passer. And Will's no longer not anywhere close to Mike as a runner. So I like the fact that we're utilizing both of these weapons because we did not have that element in the offense, right? All right, we got to Woody for 4 off the right side. Then we're incomplete to Harmon. They got a little pressure here. Brings up 2nd and 6. We swing it out to Woody, who gets 10 yards and a first down. Woody, you know what kind of receiver he is out of the backfield. He's a complete back. He really is. 1st and 10. We run off left side for Woody for 5. We're complete to Woody Marks on an angle route here for 15 yards down to the southeastern 35-yard line. We try to run that little nifty end-around play that we ran in the spring game with such success. We actually tried to run it twice in this ball game. Both times we get nothing. This time we run left, 2 loose, stop for no gain. 2nd and 10. We're complete to Jordan Mosley. Good to see him out there active early, 11 yards. 1st and 10 from the 24. We're incomplete to Freddie Roberson. Felt like that was a missed opportunity there. 2nd and 10. We run Creed off the left side for 4. We go back to him a little bit later. We'll discuss that. Will Rogers in sack, the 1 sack of the day. They overloaded and kind of basically lined up as a 7-tack on both sides and kind of came after us. I don't know if that's on Will or on Cole, if we didn't read hot, if they just disguised it well or whatever. No matter what, Will was a sitting duck back there. Really no opportunity there. And because the pressure came to both sides, you couldn't roll out. It's kind of a duck deal. Duck down and just hope for the best. But then Kyle Ferry, the freshman, steps up and knocks it through from 47 yards. Yeah, and just in case you're wondering, that matches the second longest field goal of the season last year. Yeah, Ben Rabin hit one from 53 earlier in the year last year. But how about Kyle Ferry from Searcy, Arkansas, the true freshman, walking up in there, his first collegiate kick, and he banks it straight through. State's up 3-0. We get the kickoff, and we get a pin back here. It's touchback here, and so it's 1st and 10 through 25. It's incomplete on 1st down, 2nd and 10, another incompletion. Pick all in their face, man. Nathan Pickering credited with 3 tackles and 3 quarterback hurries, and then also responsible for forcing a couple of pre-snap penalties because he was just eating their lunch. So they're trying to get a head start. And so he's impacting the game sometimes without actually filling up the box score. All right, 3rd and 10, there's your false start right there, right? And then 3rd and 15, Clements complete across the middle. Darius Lewis here. They ran a little bit of this slip screen wide receiver action here. They ran this play with some success a couple times. A little bit later in the ball game, we kind of sniffed it out what they were doing, but it was a nice wrinkle they did, and this one nearly went. Now, maybe not for a touchdown, but even though it was 11 yards, could have been a more sizable gain. Ends up being a 4th and 4. And then Austin Dunlap, who does the rugby-style punting and traditional-style punting, a 56-yarder that rolls away. Give the Southeastern punter a lot of credit. I thought he was their best player on the day. I joked in postgame, if he goes in the portal, he's going to get a nice NIL deal from somebody. All right, the final possession of the first quarter belonged to Mississippi State. We started our 13. Will Rogers complete to Justin Robinson for 9. There was some discussion about he may not play a whole lot. He did play a lot and was an impactful player in this game. Justin looks great out there running around. He really does. 2nd and 1. We give it to freshman Seth Davis up the middle for 2. Davis, one of 9 freshmen that made their Bulldog debut, and that's of the true freshman variety. 1st and 10. We go right side with Woody for 5. Makes it a 2nd 5. We go back to Woody on a little bit of swing out pass there, just get a couple yards. Ian Goodley with the tackle, had 15 tackles for Southeastern Louisiana. How about that? Nice day for him. 3rd and 3, we run off left side for Woody. He dives for the sticks here, and apparently on TV the yellow line was wrong because I tell you, watching it in real time from the press box, it was clear he was about 1.5 feet short. And there were some people kind of groaning about it on Twitter. But, yeah, the line must have been off on television because he was short. Crimmins gets a 40-yard punt. Again, we need a little bit better deal there. We do. And he'll get better. He's just a freshman too. But 27 yards and the fair catch for Darius Lewis. So that ends the first quarter. 3-0 ball game, but a little bit of a disappointing quarter, I think most people would say. And, again, with a new system, a new play caller, a new way of doing things, there's going to be some growing pains. State kind of gets it going here in a second, though. It kind of held by the short field here. Eli Sawyer completes a pass to Jacob Logan. State's in cloud coverage here, so we're playing the ball underneath Logan makes the reception, and 3 Bulldogs converge. Buki Watson with the big lick and fumble recovery here. He forces it and then recovers the own fumble. So State is set up immediately with a 1st and 10 at their 36. We run up the middle for 3 with Woody. We go back to Woody on just a great middle screen here. And give Southeastern some credit. You may have missed this live. The defensive tackle there nearly got a hand on this thing and caused Woody to have to kind of readjust. But we get it, and next thing you know, it's 32 yards down the field. And I love the fact that we got some offensive linemen looking for work downfield too, for sure. 1st and goal from the 1. We give it to Woody. He's in for the touchdown. Ferry's kick is good. And then Marlon Hawk kicks off. And so a lot of this kickoff stuff, people are like, you know what, let's just kick it in the end zone. I'm a proponent of that too. But sometimes you got to work on some directional kicking. You got to work on some things, with a real opponent. Hawk has the ability to put the ball in the end zone. The thing that I've learned about that is if you kick it in the end zone, yes, they begin at the 25. However, they can't return the football, right? You kick it short of the goal line. You never know when somebody's going to slip and fall. Leave a lane open. I get it. You'd love to be able to pin them back inside the 15. It just didn't work out that way very often. Okay, 10-0 ball game here. Southeastern takes over at their 21. And immediately it's a false start. They run right off the right side for no gain. 2nd and 15. You feel like, okay, we're in a good position here, right? 2nd and 15. It's incomplete. Pickering in their face. And another false start. 3rd and 20, and you think, all right, we're good here. We're about to blow this thing open. We're fixing to get a punt. We'll get favorable field position. We'll make this a 3-score game here real quick. That's not what happened. They run this wide receiver slip screen deal again, and again, play design's really good. The guy gets loose. We missed 2 tackles on the play. Both of those tackles would have been short of the sticks, right? So it had been punting time. But instead he gets loose. Harlan Dixon, who had a nice game for Southeastern, 28 yards on a reception. It's now 1st and 10 from their 39. They're complete to Xavier Hill off the left side. They run up the middle. It's stacked up by Pickering and Trevion Williams. 3rd and 5. Complete to Darius Lewis, again, who makes a play out here for 12 yards. And right here you're thinking, okay, enough already. We're not going to let these guys go score, are we? Well, we do. 1st and 10, they run off left side again. Again, a consistent theme. Left side rushing there, 14 yards. When they had big gains on the ground, it was off the left side. 1st and 10 from the State 30. It's a completion to Jalen Domino for 6. 2nd and 4, they run Dixon back up the middle for 3. Brings up a very manageable 3rd and 1. They try to swing it out to Dixon. It's no good, but on 4th down, they go for it. And why not? And they run that basically end around off the left side for 8 yards. And at this point, it just felt like it was inevitable they were going to score. 1st and 10, DeAndre Jackson runs for 3. 2nd and 7, they're incomplete to Ivan Drabaki. What a name. I love it. He must break you. Pickering in the grill again. 3rd and 7, it's complete to Deshaun Hewley for 7 yards. Down to the State 3, brings up a 1st and goal situation. Rodeo Graham Jr., what a great name. Wonder if they pronounce it rodeo or rodeo. I like it either way, but I think in this part of the country we're going to go with rodeo. They get a yard up the middle, and then they go to Zachary Clement. Really a great play design here too. They get Asias Furge. Basically, they run a little play action thing, kind of a duck pass, right? He ducks in like he's going to go and try to sneak it because it is a quarterback sneak situation. Furge bites on that. Next thing you know, Jacob Logan, he of the earlier fumble, kind of slips out there, a little bit of a flag route. Furge can't recover. We bought hard on that duck, and next thing you know, it's a touchdown. Teachable moment. Extra point is good. It's now 10-7, and the natives in Starkville are a little bit restless. A little bit, Steve, I wasn't expecting this. Let me remind you, I told you guys, don't be surprised if this wasn't a game midway through the second quarter. So well-coached Southeastern team against a Bulldog team trying to find a sense of itself a little bit. So it shouldn't have been a surprise. And as I said on the show, I expect State to win the game handily, but I did expect a tussle in the first half. That's exactly what we got. All right, 1st and 10 from our 25. We're complete to Creed Whittemore, who is probably going to be in contention for the SEC Freshman of the Week honors. You will see if he gets it, but big day for him in his debut. You should look for a nice feature early in the week too over at genespage.com on Creed Whittemore, and not just based on his interview. Justin Frommer, who is absolutely killing the game since he has joined the staff, has a great feature coming up with some people from Creed Whittemore's past to kind of give you a little more insight into one of Mississippi State's most intriguing new faces. All right, so 14 yards there to Creed, and then 1st and 10. Marks at the middle for 1. We go off the right side for Marks for 4. Brings up a 3rd and 5. And swing it out there to Creed Whittemore for the first down, 9 yards. 1st and 10 now across midfield at the Southeastern 47. We go back to Creed, sliding play here, sliding catch. Will did what he had to do there. Kind of a tough deal, but we get positive yardage out of it. 2nd and 7, we run Woody off left side for 6. Then we're incomplete to Justin Robinson. We take the shot on 3rd and 1. I am perfectly okay with that play call. I know a lot of people are like, why? I think the issue is when you know that you can win on the line of scrimmage and you have the ability to convert that 4th and 1, sometimes taking a shot on 3rd and 1 is the way to go because of the fact everybody's thinking short yardage D. We take a shot, we miss him, and there was a little contact, but the ball was essentially overthrown there. But we bring in Jeffrey the Bull Pittman. My goodness, man. We give it to him, and it's 5 yards, and there was no way he wasn't getting this yard. He's going to be your short yardage specialist, and I expect him to be a real weapon in the red zone. We convert that. Now it's 1st and 10. We're incomplete to Pittman. Kind of threw it behind him. A little bit of pressure there. And then we hit Creed Whittemore. And I want to talk about this play a little bit. I saw some things on social media. And let me tell you this before we get started. I love all of you. And my job sometimes is to do my best to educate. Some of you guys educate me too. But I read that people were like, well, yeah, it was a bust. Guys, it wasn't a bust. We created the bad coverage because of play design, right? There are a lot of things out there you do to influence the safety. This is one of them, right? And so we kind of catch them with that crossing route that requires the safety to kind of bite. That's what his key tells him, right? That's who he has. Well, Whittemore was lined up on the opposite side of the field in the slot. We bring him behind the formation. He's not accounted for in their pre-snap read on that side of the secondary. You're not going to roll that coverage over there just because the guy's going in motion. Well, nobody picks him up, and the safety is basically in no man's land. He has to pick, which makes it kind of dealer's choice for Will Rogers. If the safety plays deep, then Will hits the crosser, which is going to be a first down and a sizable gain. If the safety bites on the crosser, we're going to take the shot, and we do, and Creed Whittemore's wide open. So, no, it wasn't a bust. It was elite play design by Kevin Barbay and great execution by your Bulldog offense. We don't need everybody to mess up in order for us to have success. Sometimes we're just simply smarter than other people. Sometimes we get a win because we've out-schemed somebody, and that's the case on this play. Great execution, great design, and you get exactly the look you want, and as a result, you put a safety in conflict, and one guy can't cover two people. Great play design by Kevin Barbay. Extra point's good. And we kick it off, and this time, pin them there at 15. It's now a 17-7 game, and this is when the Bulldog defense really kind of began to exert themselves a little bit. They kind of woke up, right? And they weren't playing bad. You just had that one drive where you miss a couple tackles, and you miss tackles early in the year. Unfortunately, that's part of it. They missed some tackles too. Sometimes they missed them because Woody Marks is just stronger than them. Jeffrey Pittman is just stronger than them. But 1st and 10, Sawyer is complete to Jalen Domino for 4. They're incomplete to Dixon, and the next thing you know, they try to go back to Ivan Dabraki, and it's broken up by Boogie Watson. Great play there. And a 31-yard punt, the worst of the day for Austin Dunlap, if memory serves me correct, out of bounds at our 40. Guys, we got 44 seconds, and with the 40, you're thinking a couple first downs, we got a chance here to put points on the board. That's exactly what happens. We'll complete to Jaden Wiley across the middle for 4. Clock's running. Tick, 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 tick. We get up there. We'll complete to Antonio Harmon for 17 yards. As Dave Murray says, first reception from a tight end since 2019. First and 10 there from their 39. We're incomplete across the middle to Jaden Wiley. Caleb Proctor in Will's face here. Second 10, we give it to Woody for 6. We take a timeout, 14 seconds to go from the Southeastern 33. We're trying to run a little play here. Southeastern kind of figures it out. Will tucks it and kind of ducks ahead for 2 yards. We call that timeout now with 3 seconds to go and bring Kyle Ferry out to attempt a field goal. And, we were going to wind it down. Southeastern calls a timeout to ice the kid. And what does he do? He bangs a 49-yarder through that probably was good from 55. Absolutely great job by Hayes Hammond and Andrew Osteen out there, and certainly Kyle Ferry. Kyle Thunderfoot Ferry is how we shall know him going forward. Absolutely outstanding. Absolutely outstanding job by the freshman. And that was the thing. When you guys heard a freshman was starting, you were thinking, oh, goodness, what does this mean? We've all been there before. You got big weekend plans. For some reason, it just didn't work out. Maybe life gets in the way. Maybe you want to head down to the casino. Maybe take some of their money. I like to do that. Well, MyBookie's new and improved online casino is here to change the game for you. Dive into truly realistic casino experiences featuring the latest in slots, progressive jackpots, and live dealer action, all from the comfort of your own home. Take advantage of weekly blackjack tournaments and a brand new collection of high-end games for a chance at real cash rewards. The MyBookie Casino provides a Las Vegas experience when the action's in your hands. And the best part is you don't even have to wear pants. How cool is that? Your adventure at the MyBookie Casino begins today with a generous sign-up bonus using promo code Boneyard. That's promo code Boneyard to secure yourself a sweet deposit bonus. And that's not all. Because their revamped loyalty program ensures that you'll be showered with rewards, including free spins, cashback offers, and a host of exclusive VIP perks, the more you play, the more you'll win. Play anytime, anywhere with the MyBookie Casino. Again, that's promo code Boneyard. Hey, Bulldog fans. You hosting a big shindig soon, maybe a horror movie marathon, maybe an impromptu game night with friends. You want to get cozy with friends and family and maybe even serve up some pumpkin beers? Yeah, great. Well, don't do it without Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. With Drizzly, you can find all the right drinks for whatever you're planning and get them delivered directly to your door. Boom, hosting handled. Now, before you get back to folding napkins and carving pumpkins, download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com/hosting/handled today. Again, that's drizzly.com, DRZLY.com/hosting-handled today. Must be 21 plus and not available in all locations. Hey, Bulldog fans, do you enjoy live entertainment like I do? I'm always going to rock shows or going to ball games. I'm always going somewhere that requires a ticket. So when you're looking for tickets to your next game, concert, or show, make shopping for tickets a little bit easier with TickPick, the original no-fee ticket marketplace that brings you the best prices for all the events you love. And now, TickPick is partnering with Zip, so you can shop now and pay later. How cool is that? Zip allows you to shop at TickPick and split your payment into easy monthly installments. Visit TickPick.com and use promo code ZIP20 for $20 off your first purchase of $199 or more with Zip. Zip can only be used for U.S. purchases, and Zip may charge a fee at checkout. Certain merchant products, goods, and service restrictions may apply. See Zip's terms of service at www.zip.co/US. Loans to the Zip app are originated by WebBank, except for Zip-originated loans in Colorado, Nevada, Massachusetts, and Maryland. Shop for all your tickets at TickPick.com and check out with Zip to split your payments into easy installments. Zip makes it easier than ever before to get your tickets now and pay for them later at TickPick.com. Check out with Zip at TickPick.com. Well, it meant good news for the Bulldogs. All right, let's jump in our second half here. State kicks off here, 26-yard return, and our only penalty of the day is Zachary Tillman. Just kind of a hustle play here. This kid just trying to make a play, and it ends up being an inadvertent face mask. 15 yards, advances ball out to the Southeastern 41. The only flag against Mississippi State the entire day. Now, what I'll tell you about that is, what that tells me is that we're well coached. That tells me we're willing to take coaching. You know how many games last year that we had one or fewer penalties? 0. I've done the math. We had one game against East Tennessee. We had 2 penalties. There were 3 other games we had 3 penalties. Everything else more than that. We have 1. In Zach Arnett's regular season debut, you get 1 penalty, and again, that's not a discipline penalty. That's an aggressiveness penalty. You can live with those. It's unfortunate, but it's not a discipline issue. It's not an execution issue. It's an effort deal. He's efforting, trying to make a play, and it's happened to get his hand in the wrong place. A near perfect game in many respects when it comes to that. When it comes to infractions, outstanding effort from the Bulldogs. All right, 1st and 10 from their 41, doesn't matter. Complete left to Dixon for 3, incomplete across the middle. And then a sack, big sack here. Bookie Watson just burst through there. And man, what a great, great day for Bookie Watson. 8 tackles on the day to lead the Bulldogs. Had the sack and a half, the forced fumble, the fumble recovery, a breakup, quarterback hurry. Probably could have sold some popcorn. Outstanding effort from Bookie Watson. And man, how privileged are we to have that guy back another year. Austin Dunlap, one of his better punts of the day, 53-yarder, nearly outkicked his coverage here. Wiley gets loose for 12 and then fumbles it, but DeCarlos Nicholson gets back on it, so State has the ball at our 26. All right, we take over here, and then it's we run Woody at the middle for 3. Swing it out to Robinson for 9 to convert the first down. Woody back on the left side for 4. We're complete to Jacoby Belazar. Basically a little puff pass here, basically a run, but it counts as a pass because the pitch went forward. But man, is Jacoby Belazar fast or what? Can you just not wait to see him on the field more regularly? 13 yards for him. And then we're incomplete to Woody. Josh Randall in Will's face here a little bit. 2nd and 10, Mike Wright in at quarterback. Mike rushes for 6 yards to the Southeastern 39. Makes it 3rd and 4, and we just give it to Woody, and Woody just gashes for 10 here. First down. We try to run that little end-around play, the little gadget play to Tulu to the left, and they get us for a 2-yard loss. So we've got to do, obviously they've studied the spring game film, as they should, and clearly we're kind of tipping that with something we're doing formationally. 2nd and 12, we're incomplete to Jaden Wiley. Again, we'll rush a little bit here. 3rd and 12, we're complete to Justin Robinson for 8. We decided to go for it on 4th and 4. Zach Arnett said in hindsight we should have kicked field goal here. And that's probably right. But sometimes the emotions of the game kind of get to you. You're thinking, hey, if we can convert this and get in the end zone, we're putting the game away, right? It didn't work out for us. We're incomplete to Antonio Harmon. Good to see him involved, though. It really is. The guy's really talented. They take over 1st and 10 if they're 23. And it's Rodeo Graham. That's what we're going with. I guess, did we say rodeo? We did the rodeo. Runs off left side for 4. Complete to Bayer Sharp for 4. Brings up a 3rd and 2. And then there's Harlan Dixon running left for 11 yards. We talked about it. That's something to watch as we get into Arizona. Left, left, left. 1st and 10. Rodeo runs for 4. 2nd and 8, they're incomplete. And then 3rd and 8, it's a nice big sack there from Boogie Watson, Jaden Crumity. 4th and 13, they punt inside the State 20 at the 18-yard line. This is the knockout punch that Zach Arnett was looking for on the previous drive. We run Seth Davis, the freshman left side. Mike Wright runs for 11 off the right, and then Mike gets loose again. 53 yards down to the Southeastern 14-yard line. We bring in Jeffrey Pittman, and I thought he was going to carry the entire Southeastern Louisiana Lion roster into the end zone with him. It's 1st and 10 from our 14. They make contact basically 2 steps beyond the line of scrimmage, and Jeff just drags them. And there's like 3 guys trying to bring him down. I mean, it's like a bunch of kids trying to tackle their dad in a front yard football game. It's ridiculous. 9 yards on the gain down to the 5. Nuts. They call timeout here. 2nd 1, we go back to Pittman. This time he gets nothing. 3rd 1, next thing you know, we've got another good play design here. Jaden Wiley just kind of flashing there across the backside. they're not going to win that foot race. It's not going to happen. So we get it to Wally, and of course he wins the race to the pylon. Extra point is good. It's 27-7. At this point, the game is over. It's just a matter of what the final score is going to be. Final drive of the third quarter. It's rather interesting here. Jet Johnson last year got 1 sack on the year. Well, he's already matched that through 1 game this year, and forces a fumble, and they get back on it. That's again another fumble, the 4th fumble of the day. Again, we forced 4. We only got 1. That's got to get better. Incomplete on the second and incomplete. They completed on third for 3 to Harlan Dixon. And they let the clock run out here and decided, okay, we're going to punt. We're going to punt to open the fourth quarter. And John Lewis, a kid that has really, really hustled. Really hustled. And I'm expecting big things from him this year. John gets in there, gets the hands up, blocks the punt. Avery Sledge snags it from the air, and he's in former high school quarterback from FCAHS, Brooklyn, Mississippi, runs it in for the touchdown, his first collegiate touchdown. May not be his last one. Kid's a heck of an athlete. 11 yards for the score. Extra point is good. It's 34-7, and now we're working on this margin a little bit, right? Southeastern gets the ball 25 yards on a return to the 25. They run off right side for 5, run left for 1, brings up a 3rd and 4, and then get nothing. DeMonte Russell with the big stick there, and then a 54-yard punt from Austin Dunlap. Could you imagine, honest to goodness, if this kid just has an average day, we're probably scoring in the 50s. This kid changed the game in many respects because we had to earn it. I mean, we only had the 1 bad punt, and of course the 1 we blocked, but when this guy was able to get it off, he was able to flip the field. I mean, go back and look at our average starting position and see how many times we started inside the 25 because of this kid. Great effort. 1st and 10 from our 15. We give it to Woody. I thought he was going to go here. 37 yards and then run out of bounds there. Career day for Woody Marks. Really happy for him. Woody then goes after the 37-yard game. We go right back to him, go off the left side for 2. We get it to Tulu for 5, and then Woody, again, a gasher of a play here, 23 yards. He's getting it done all the way around here. Yeah, so, again, Woody, a career day for him. On that next 1st and 10, we're complete to Tulu for 12, and this is after some people at TV, I think, had said he was a little bit banged up. He did come back. He has been a little bit beat up at the back end of camp. We expect him to be fine. And then we run off left side to Woody for touchdown, and extra point's good. It's now 41-7. Marlon Hawk kickoff to the goal line. They return 20 yards. Zachary Tillman with the tackle there. Talked about how Southeastern just didn't do much in the second half. That continues here. Again, the game is over, really. 1st and 10 from their 20. Dixon runs off right side for 3. They're incomplete to Corey Lorio, and then runs off right side on 3rd and 7. J.P. Purvis, Trevion Williams with tackles. And then Austin Dunlap with another 50-plus yard punt. It's ridiculous, man. What a great job. Jaden Wally returns it for 3 yards. State set up shop at our own 28. We give it to Simeon Price, who runs off left side for 6. Mike Wright then runs left for 9. Kevon Lee with his first carry as a Bulldog gets 4 yards. And then we run off right side with Creed Whittemore here. Again, great play design. Needed to get a downfield block. He gets one. It springs him for the score. You're not going to catch Creed Whittemore from behind in the open field. Just not going to happen. Extra point is good. Makes it 48-7. Nice kickoff here from Marlon Hawk, too. And we pin him inside the 20. John Lewis and Bryce Pollock with a nice tackle. I thought our coverage units played well. Final drive of the game for Southeastern, their most productive, and again, that's mostly against Bulldog reserves out there on defense. Rodeo Graham runs left side for 12, then Graham for 4 off the left side. Brings up a 2nd and 6. Incomplete pass to Darius Lewis. Deontay Anderson gets a hand up there and bats it down. Good to see him getting some reps. 3rd and 6. Bauer Sharp runs left, 13 yards. Not going to say it again. You know by now. 1st and 10 up the middle. Cyrus Zool for 2. And then they back to Zool for 4 more. Brings up a 3rd and 4. And it's complete to Darius Lewis. Nice tackle on the play here. Nick Mitchell and Chris Keys to force a 4th and 2. And false start. Another false start. Brennan Lanklow had, I think, 3 of their false start penalties. They call timeout here and then decide to go for it. They swing it out to Graham, who gets 5 yards and stops short of the sticks. And then from there, Mike Wright takes a couple kneel downs. It's over. Those go as team rushes. And because they count as rushes, instead of us running for 300 yards, we ran for 298, which leads the Southeastern Conference. Interestingly enough, Will Rogers took 0 snaps under center. It's interesting. We have done our best to dispel the notion and the misinformation about the Bar Bay offense, but it's clear people aren't paying attention, right? Because even Tim Tebow on the SEC Network before the game said, Will Rogers is going to be under center. He was not. That was never the plan. So we'll just keep doing what we do. Quick look inside the numbers here before we get to today's top 10 list. All right, Will Rogers, 20 of 29 for 227 yards, a couple touchdowns, also passes. Danny Werfel moves into 7th place all-time in SEC passing, and Danny Werfel, of course, a former Heisman winner. Sacked just a one-time, and again, that was just a jailbreak deal, and really wasn't on Will. It wasn't like he held the football too long. It just they dialed up a good play, and our protection wasn't sound. Jaquarius Marks, Woody Marks, 127 career high yards for him. Another interesting note here, 19 carries, 0 rushes for loss. The guy runs with a forward lean. He did have 1 or 2, I guess, for no gain, but no losses. And that says a little something about your offensive line, too. Will Rogers had the 1 sack for 11 yards, I guess it was. And so we have 13 yards loss rushing the entire day. 2 of those are on those kneel downs, and then 2 more of them are on the Tulu end around to the left side that they snuffed out. So you start working through this. Basically, we had 1 real rush for loss on 39 attempts. Technically 37, I guess, when you factor in the kneel down. So 37 rushes, and you have 1 of those go for a loss. If that doesn't say a lot about the fact that we've kind of embraced this scheme, I don't know what does. I don't. So receiving-wise, again, Woody leads us with 4 for 59, ties with Creed Whittemore also 4 of 59, and the 1 touchdown for him. Tulu 4 of 33, Justin Robinson 3 of 26. Antonio Harmon brings 1 down for 17 yards. Jacoby Belazar 1 for 13. Jordan Mosley 1 of 11. Jaden Wiley 2 for 9. So to kind of do it by committee here, a lot of guys played. A lot of guys were in the pass pattern, and most of those guys very productive. Defensive numbers for you. Mentioned that Bookie Watson led us with 8. DeMonte Russell, a quiet 7 tackles. You don't hear people really talking about the game DeMonte had, but 7 tackles for him. Jet with 6, also credited with that sack and 2 forced fumbles. DeCamerion, 5 tackles for him. Trevion Williams, 4 tackles in a reserve role. Nick Mitchell also 4, mostly in the second half there. Asias Furge with 3, Sean Preston with 3, Nathan Pickering with 3, also credited with 3 quarterback hurries. J.P. Purvis with 3, Calvin Dinkins with 3. Another reserve defensive lineman making some plays. Deshaun Page with a couple tackles. I thought he struggled a little bit over there. Like he's playing a little bit out of position. We'll see how things develop. But, good to see some fresh faces. Hunter Washington, I thought, played well at times. Not credited with a pass breakup, but he flashed in front of a receiver one time and forced an incompletion. Again, didn't get to touch football, but nevertheless impacted the play, shall we say. But there you go. That's your ball game. State wins, and again, some things to feel good about and some things that can be corrected. Again, we're 1 tackle away from this thing being a shutout of a ball game. Anytime you win by 41 points, it's difficult to find some things to just kind of parse through and say these things are negative. But there were some things you look at and say, you know what, hey, we've got to be better here. I want to mention this Austin Dunlap kid too. 7 punts on the day. Averaged 46.3 and a long of 56. 4 of those inside the 20 and 4 50 yards or more. outstanding effort. I don't know where they found this kid, but a really good job. State only punts twice on the day. Keelan Crimmins, 2 for 75, averaging 37.5. One of those inside the 20. And again, we need a little more depth there on those punts. You don't want to outkick the coverage, but the reality of it is we got to do better than 37.5. We do. But that's how it breaks down. And again, good win for State, but also some things you look at and say, you know what, hey, don't get too big for your britches here. You got to figure some things out, guys. So congratulations to the Bulldog fans all over the world celebrating a 1-0 start. All right, time for today's top 10 list. As always, brought to you by closewithblair.com. That's C-L-O-S-E with Blair, B-L-A-I-R.com. Blair is your friend in the mortgage industry, a friend to those in need, whether you're looking to get a mortgage for the first time, or perhaps you're relocating, and it's like, hey, Steve, there's a lot to this, man. I'm over my head here trying to figure this thing out, man. I'm getting transferred, whatever. Maybe you're going through some type of life change. Remove one big item from your list of worries by entrusting your mortgage needs to Blair Chandler. Give him a call today at 601-500-2344. Again, that's 601-500-2344. You know, I like keeping the business within the family whenever I can. Blair is a season ticket holder to Mississippi State sporting events in multiple sports. Saw him and his lovely family on Saturday on their way to the Davis Wade Stadium. Yeah. Didn't have time to visit much. Had to go meet with some other Boneyard listeners, and you know how it goes. I mean, game day is a day to get to see your friends. I didn't get enough time to spend with Blair and his family, but nevertheless, you can reach out to Blair. He can help you navigate through the difficult process that is the mortgage loan origination process. Of course, works for Fairway Mortgage, a very reputable lender. Recently voted #1 in customer satisfaction. Blair's been doing this 22 years, kids. Now, you could go a lot of different directions here, but it's best to stick with some experience. The guy that gets things done. Top 1% close ratio in the country. Back-to-back years. Yeah. So if you're serious about closing on a loan, you need to close with Blair at closewithblair.com. All right. We picked up a dub over the weekend. So we're going to do, in honor of the dub, we're going to do some rock songs that begin with the letter W. This is not Sesame Street or Electric Company or Romper Room or Captain Kangaroo or any of that. But we're going to honor the dub with a dub list. Top rock songs that begin with the letter W. Now, you won't hear Wasted Time from Skid Row. That just missed. You won't hear We Are the Champions from Queen because we hadn't won anything yet. But you will hear some classic rock songs here. There's also some modern stuff here. Kind of an eclectic list, to be quite honest with you. I don't know if some of these artists have ever been on the same list together. But here we go. Number 10, one of my favorite Iron Maiden songs of all time. Not just because of that incredible guitar intro that also doubles as a little bit of a solo later in the song. But this is the first Iron Maiden album that I bought somewhere in time. I was a little bit reluctant. Maybe the album art scared me. I don't know. You know, I was just a kid. But I bought Somewhere in Time and immediately fell in love with Iron Maiden. And then I went back and I bought Peace of Mind and I bought Power Slave and I bought Killers. Matter of fact, I have an Iron Maiden Killers tattoo. Maybe you didn't know that. Maybe you thought I was like some delicate flower or something, right? You know, like I only listen to the rock radio stuff. Well, you're wrong. Love Iron Maiden. And so we're going Wasted Years, number 10. Wasted Years from Iron Maiden is your number 10 W song today. Number 9, this could probably be, you could make an argument it should be higher on the list because of how people responded to this song. One of the things that's always kind of bothered me about this, even though I love the song, is John Bon Jovi is from New Jersey. And so we sing about being cowboys. And, you know, we did a Young Guns 2 soundtrack, which is fabulous. Anytime that Young Guns or Young Guns 2 is on, like if I happen to catch Young Guns on, because usually they run them back to back, no matter what time of night it is, I'm going to watch them both. I am. Absolutely am. And John has a cameo in Young Guns 2 in the beginning, when they're bringing Doc Scarlock and they're bringing Chavez out of the muck, out of the pit, and getting them away from the angry mob. John Bon Jovi is one of the people involved in that deal. Maybe you didn't know that, a little trivia for you. But we're going to go with Wanted, Dead or Alive. He talks about I'm a cowboy on a steel horse I ride. I'm wanted, as Richie Sambora so eloquently sang, dead or alive. That's number 9. But John, you're from New Jersey, okay? You're not a cowboy. Love you to death, not a cowboy. Number 8, we kind of mentioned this song the other day, kind of in passing. And the original recording of this was really good. It was. But it got new life in my generation, really, when Run DMC collaborated with Aerosmith at the urging of super producer Rick Rubin to re-record Walk This Way. And I remember reading an interview with Ron and Jam Master Jay, God rest his soul. They were talking about they were being pitched on this, and you're like, hey, we got to make it B-boy. They said, hey, it already is. It's already written like a rap song. And it was an incredible collaboration. But we're going to go with our original today, Aerosmith's Walk This Way, number 8. Number 7, speaking of walking, no, we're not walking in Memphis with Mark Cohn. No, we're not. We're going back a few years. You remember, many of you heard this song at Davis Wade Stadium. Every time we needed a big defensive stop, we played it. It's Pantera's Walk. Love Pantera. Most people don't know this. Before Dimebag Darrell was Dimebag Darrell, he was Diamond Darrell. Yeah, Diamond Darrell Abbott, because Pantera was a bit of a glam band until Phil Anselmo joined the band as a vocalist, and then things changed, and Pantera became one of the most innovative rock bands of this generation. Absolutely love this song. Love the attitude behind it. Phil has been in some trouble. Phil's gotten drunk, done some stupid things on stage. But we've lost the Abbott brothers, Vinny and Darrell both, in tragic fashion. And last time I was in Fort Worth, I told Dana, I said, hey, I want to go by and I want to pay my respects to them. I don't know why that stuff matters to me, but it does. And, we just didn't have time to do it. With all those things we had on our schedule, just weren't able to go do it. So next time I'm in Dallas, Fort Worth area, I'm going to make a point to go do that. Because it does matter to me. But Walk is number 7, so walk on home, boy. Number 6, could have gone a lot of different directions here. I almost slipped in White Lion here, almost. But I thought, how do I put White Lion ahead of Iron Maiden, Bon Jovi, Aerosmith, and Pantera? So I didn't. I thought we got to keep rocking, man. You can't just throw Pantera in the mix and then come back with kind of some powder metal of the 80s. You can't do it. So we're going with Slipknot here, the fabulous Corey Taylor. It's Wait and Bleed. You knew the punchline before. All of you that are Slipknot fans, you knew where I was going with this. Wait and Bleed, and that really fits. Winning on the football field, there we go. Wait and bleed. Number 5, my wife told me years and years and years ago that she felt this was probably the greatest love song of our generation. I don't know that it's the greatest, but it's probably in the top 5. And she said, I don't know a woman in the world that wouldn't want to hear this song and know that her husband, her significant other, sees her in this way. It's beautiful. And it's Eric Clapton's Wonderful Tonight. And it is an incredible song, and it's not just because of that amazing guitar tone. It is a beautiful, beautiful song about being in love with somebody else. And you look wonderful tonight. I mean, that's what, that's the thing, too. There's so much that, you look hot. And I don't know, maybe some people want to be told that. I tell my wife sometimes, you're hot, But she's a beautiful woman. And I know this. Dana's the kind of person, too, that she's probably most comfortable, in a T-shirt, flip-flops, and some leggings, right? And she looks great in that, too. But when my wife dolls up, nobody dolls up better than her. And there are some of those moments you just kind of, they kind of take your breath away. When you're in love with somebody, they really make the effort to look nice for you for a special event. And that's when you say, you look wonderful tonight. Number 4, I got a friend of mine that's going to love the fact that this is on here. He probably said, I bet he's not going to put the Beatles on here. Well, you're wrong. It's not the Walrus song, though. It's not. I Am the Walrus. It's not that. It's We Can Work It Out. One of my favorite Beatles songs. I know many young people today are kind of getting into the Beatles. And to be honest with you, a lot of your parents really weren't into the Beatles. There was a lot of backlash about all of that late 60s, early 70s type music in my generation. It's like, we're kind of beyond that. Even though those bands heavily influenced the bands that we all love. But there was all this angst. And that's the case, too. It's like a lot of people younger than me, of course, they got tired of all that, the VO5 hairspray and that sort of stuff. And they're like, oh, I don't want anything to do with the 80s metal. And then, so we had to go do all this weird stuff. And now all of a sudden it's like Motley Crue's about to release a new album. Def Leppard's released a new album. These guys are selling out stadiums over the world. And it's like, well, yeah, okay, we were wrong. But we can work it out from the Beatles. It's cool, too. And if you've never watched the movie Yesterday, even though it's completely fictitious, it really celebrates the music of the Beatles. I'd encourage you to check that out. So next time you're looking for something cool to watch on Netflix, watch Yesterday. And there's some really good documentaries out there. I remember Above Us Only Sky. If it's still available on Netflix, it's certainly worth your time. It's about the writing and recording of the song Imagine and a few other things. It's pretty special, it really is. Actual not live footage, but actual recorded footage of John Lennon writing Imagine, which is one of the greatest songs of my lifetime. Number 3, and you could say, Steve, how could you put this band above the Beatles? Well, it's because I like them better than the Beatles. Had a chance to speak to Jesse Isaac multiple times. He's a guy I'd love to hang out with more. He's the lead singer of the band 10 years. Not 10 years after, 10 years, out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Dana and I have seen them, I don't know, maybe a half dozen times. Just about every time I've had a chance to visit with him afterwards. Super guy, used to wear dreads, doesn't anymore. He did in this particular video, and I asked him one day at Rocklahoma, thanks, Mark, hey, why did you cut your dreads? He said, well, this is so much easier to deal with. And I agree with that, but I think it's certainly worth the effort. But it's a great song, and really the first breakthrough single for this great, great band, one of my favorite modern rock bands, 10 years. It's a song called Wasteland, and it's about his cousin who played Mark Sway in the great movie The Client with Susan Sarandon, who we love. And that's what it's about. It's kind of a cryptid song about him, and he's a guy that ultimately killed himself. But especially the line he talks about, and again, Jesse and I spoke about that, is about self-inflicted his perdition, which is incredible writing. And so it's kind of dramatic poetry in many respects. But I love this song. If I was to ever cover a 10-year song, it would be Wasteland. Number 2, though, a song that I heard for the first time when I worked for Holligmeyer's Furniture. It's like, we put on the... I don't even know what we called it back then, but it was like we didn't have music. It was satellite radio, but it wasn't satellite radio. It's like through DirecTV. So you could pick a channel and put it on, play it to the PA at night when everybody's working and cleaning up. And I heard this song and I was like, what? That sounds like Oasis. That is Oasis. Why have I never heard this? It was a brand new single. Of course, I had the great album, What's the Story, Morning Glory. And then Wonderwall. And it's just one of those songs that's just timeless in my estimation. Another great documentary, the Oasis documentary. If you've never watched it, it's worth your time. But Wonderwall, I don't even know what it's really about, But it's really, when you begin to break down the lyrics, about, maybe you're going to be the one that saves me. There is so much of that in relationships and friendships and things like that. We are not an island. I believe it's Henry David Thoreau wrote. I believe I got that citation correct. But Oasis, an incredible band that really kind of flamed out quickly when it was all said and done. But they were a worldwide phenomenon, for sure. And Wonderwall, probably the quintessential Oasis song. So it deserves a spot on our list. Number 2. All right, the number 1 song, and I mentioned him earlier because I'm a big Motley fan. And it's going to be Wild Side from Motley. That means so much to me. That's my license plate, in case you didn't know. I don't want you keying my car or anything. But if you ever see this ruby red Mustang out there rolling along the great state of Mississippi, and you see Wild Side on the license plate, you'll know that it's me. Now, sometimes, and this will sound like first world problems, people will pull up next to me on the interstate and want to wave. We're both going, in excess of the posted speed limit. That's not the best time to say hello. Maybe just kind of stick your hand out the window as you pass me, which is rare. But nevertheless, that's me. I love the song Wild Side. I can play most of this on guitar. I play it poorly, but I can still play it. And I love it. It was one of those things, too. When I first saw that was in the Girls, Girls, Girls album, I thought it was going to be a cover of the Lou Reed song. It's not, even though it's a little bit of a take on that. Take a ride on the Wild Side. They change it, of course, Some incredible lyrics in that album too, and especially in that particular song. And the thing about the Girls album, it was one of those things that kind of bummed me out a little bit, is it brought a lot of the preps in to the Motley Crue fan base, because I had been with them from the beginning. I had been with them from Livewire and Merry Go Round and Take Me to the Top. I'd been around. I was there through Shout at the Devil. I was around when Vince Neil, we thought Vince was going to prison for the drunk driving accident that killed Razzle Dingley and injured 2 other people. I was a loyal subject of King Crew. And so we get Theater of Pain out, which is kind of just an average album, right? And think, okay, all right, now everybody's good. It was a little bit disjointed. And then Girls comes out, and of course that was in the heyday of MTV, when if you weren't on MTV, you weren't playing music. And the next thing you know, the Girls video, which is phenomenal. I'm just going to say it for what it is. It's phenomenal. Became anthemic for my generation. It's still one of those songs that holds up all these years later. Looking forward to new Motley material, but we'll close today's top 10 list with Motley's Wild Side. If you have ideas for the top 10 list, reach out, let us know. You can find me on all forms of social media at Scout Steve R. You can find Roy. That's right, the great Roy Samanthi. Saw Roy on Saturday, him and his lovely daughter Elsa and friends. It's always good to have a chance. That's the thing about Mississippi State sporting events. There are some friends you only get a chance to see when everybody's coming to see the Bulldogs play. And so it's nice to see Roy. You can find Roy on Twitter at Dogmatic67. That's DAWGMATIC 67. That signifies his birth year because he's older than me. And he's also on Spotify on that same handle. So you can subscribe there and get our great list kind of auto-populated to your Spotify app. And thank you so much for your support of the top 10 list low these many years. All right, final segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart. And they were rocking this weekend. A lot of people come back to town for the first time in a long time, wanted to buy at a Starkvillian institution, and thank you for that. If you can't make it to town for game day, or maybe you went hunting instead of coming to support the Bulldogs, next time you're in town, go by and check them out, or visit them on the World Wide Web at campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll give you a phrase that pays. That is BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. That gets you free shipping on all orders over $75. Any order less than 75 bones, absolutely incomplete. All right, let's take a look around the Southeastern Conference, shall we? The weekend went pretty much to script. I think we would all say it doesn't take, it didn't take an insider to kind of figure this weekend out. I mean, there were a lot of lopsided games because there were a lot of games that weren't good matchups. And there really wasn't any games you look at this week and say, hey, that was a bit of a surprise. Not at all. Of course, we opened up, earlier in the week with Hawaii and Vanderbilt. Vandy wins that game. And, of course, Utah beats Florida 24-11. Scott Strickland's got a mess on his hands, I'm afraid. I really do. And Billy Napier, and we talk about him a lot over at genespage.com. We do. I really thought Billy Napier would have been a great fit for Mississippi State because I think our recruiting footprint lends itself to the offensive system he wants to run. We got a lot of quarterbacks in our state, in our border states, that are really kind of spread option type quarterbacks. We could have done that. That's not to say there's not a lot of good spread option quarterbacks in the state of Florida or in their recruiting front. They do recruit somewhat nationally. But I just don't know that Billy Napier, despite his time at Alabama, is really capable of getting out there going head-to-head with Nick Saban and Kirby Smart to be able to recruit at that level. I thought Billy could come in here and maybe be the next Dan Mullen. And a lot of Bulldog fans say, you Napier guys. I still think Billy would have been a good fit for us. He was not interested in our job. He wasn't interested in Ole Miss. He wasn't interested in Arkansas. He really wanted to go to South Carolina. He didn't get the gig, and it works out well for him because he has a very lucrative contract at Florida with a pretty hefty golden parachute attached to it. So should they decide to fire him, they're going to have to pay him rather significantly. All right, and of course the back end of that Thursday night deal was, it was Missouri and South Dakota. So Missouri wins handily 35-10. All right, we get into Saturday's games, and Tennessee and Virginia, again, we all kind of felt like this. Virginia's picked in the bottom half of the ACC. no matter where that game was played, you could have played it in Charlottesville. It wouldn't have mattered. Tennessee, Josh Heupel really has things going. And I go back to this whole thing with Josh. There were so many people that told me Tennessee settled for Josh Heupel. I said, Tennessee, because of the NCAA issues, they're not going to be able to get anybody worth their salt, so they go get Josh Heupel. And they said, Josh had some baggage and that sort of stuff. And so it's Tennessee's just kind of getting the guy to kind of navigate through this difficult chapter in their football history. And then they'll go out and get a big-time coach. Well, it turns out they already have a big-time coach. And, of course, Josh and those guys, big year last year. I went away from getting in the playoff. Upset later in the year. Shouldn't have happened. But 49-13 winners. And Joe Milton, good ball game for him. Shouldn't be surprised, though. Really a good game for Tennessee. And we'll see what it looks like kind of moving forward with those guys. Again, I think Tennessee has a good year. I just don't think they can truly challenge Georgia. Kentucky trailed Ball State early, but really got it going there in the second quarter. We talked about that. Wouldn't it be great if Ball State could win that game? There really wasn't much chance of that. As Kentucky, even though they are kind of a mediocre team in the Southeastern Conference, they have too many athletes to lose to Ball State without really gifting them the game. So nice win early on for Kentucky, and they have a very, very manageable non-conference schedule. So there'll be some hype around them here in the weeks ahead. Arkansas dominates Western Carolina, as you'd expect. Catamounts just can't match up with that. Again, that's one of the most physically dominating offensive systems in the country when you have the right pieces. And they do. They do with KJ and Rocket. They absolutely do. And so it really wasn't much of a game. It was 21-3 after one. It's 35-3 at the break. Then it's just kind of a matter of what the final score is going to be. Rocket Sanders, kind of a pedestrian game for him, just 42 yards, but you didn't need him to carry the ball in the second half. They really kind of did it by committee. Had 6 different ball carriers, including KJ. But KJ does it through the air, 18 of 23. That's really an efficient day for him, and that's not just dinking and dunking. I mean, average target depth of target is 10.7. And then 246 yards and 3 touchdowns. And they bring in Criswell late, and he throws a couple of completions and a touchdown. So pretty efficient day for the Arkansas offense. They're going to wreck somebody's season. I just feel it. Don't know who it's going to be, but they're one of these teams that plays well with a lead. They're not going to be a team that can play well from behind. But if they ever get up on somebody and get a turnover and get like a 2-possession lead, they're going to shorten the game on you. And I think these new clock rules that a lot of coaches are complaining about kind of lends itself to Arkansas style of play. Ole Miss 73-7 winners. A lot of people are all excited. Mercer's first play from scrimmage goes 75 yards for a touchdown. It was all Ole Miss after that. And again, it kind of reminds me of the the freeze era. You're kind of running the score up, and I've seen some people trying to defense it. I mean, the reality of it is it's Mercer's job to stop Ole Miss. Not to mention, when you put those young kids in the second half, you can't tell them not to play. I mean, you're not going to run the full complement of your offense. I got no problem with this, but at the same time, too, I mean, throwing the football late's a little bit much. I mean, it is. But I got 3 quarterbacks in the ball game. Jackson Dart, I think he's going to hang on to that job. And I've told you guys before, the thing about Dart that always impresses me is not just the fact that he is a good athlete. His ball handling is really next level. I mean, the way he carries out his fakes, whether he's running the football or he's not, he is a guy that's very deceptive back there in the pocket. I really like his game. I do, and I know a lot of you guys think, Steve, why are you praising an Ole Miss guy? Well, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. And not to mention, they go out and recruit all these kids out of transfer portal, and he's holding on to the job. So good for him. Auburn, 59-14 winners over UMass. No surprise there. UMass may not win a game this year, at least not against a Division I opponent. It's going to be crazy. Of course, your Bulldogs, 48-7 winners over Southeastern Louisiana. Georgia, a little bit slow getting going against UT Martin. I mean, I think we all looked up. It's interesting. Georgia is the 2-time defending national champion, and you look up in the second quarter, and it's a 1-possession game. They didn't go up 14-0 until there was like 4 minutes left in the half. It's a 7-0 ball game, 5 minutes to go in the first half. You don't think their fans are a little bit concerned? Probably you would say, wait, we got more talent than Mississippi State does, and Mississippi State had a better first half than we did. But UT Martin, no threat, 48-7. A&M all over New Mexico, 52-10. I haven't watched the game yet. I will a little bit later. I've read it. I read up the recaps and sort of stuff. It sounds like Connor Wegman had a really, really good game. 18-23, depth of target 10.3, 236 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Wegman with Petrino could be a problem. If Jimbo and Bobby can get along, this could be a good year for them. I'm not buying it's going to be a great year for them. I think they're probably kind of similarly situated as Mississippi State. I think we're going to be probably on the same level when it comes to the bowl pecking order. But A&M could get somebody. They could get somebody they're not expected to. But the 52-10 win here, I mean, you didn't learn anything about them other than the fact that maybe Connor Wegman is ready to take the next step. Because no matter the quality of competition, when you go out and you throw 5 touchdowns and you have that level of efficiency, that tells me you've worked hard in the offseason. Vanderbilt, again, their second win of the year, 47-13 over Alabama A&M. Not as tricky as some people expected, right? And a lot of that's just coach speak, you know that. But listen, it was 5-3 after one quarter. If you had that on your SEC bingo card, and you have won Vanderbilt football bingo. 5 points, and of course that includes a safety, but 5-3 after one. And then you look up and there's a touchdown scored, and it's 12-3 at the break. And then Vandy in the second half, kind of the difference in the strength and conditioning program and the fact that you recruit a better brand of athlete begins to take over. And they get some separation and win 47-13. Alabama 56-7 winners over Middle Tennessee State. You know, what can you really say about this, right? I mean, again, it's just kind of the same story as you saw with many of the other teams in the Southeastern Conference. I mean, it's just, you know, too much talent against too little talent. Milroe with a nice game, 13 of 18, 10.8 yards, depth of target, 194 yards, 3 touchdowns. Is he the guy? You know, we'll see. You know, he does have the dual threat capacity. There's a thing, too, you look at all this, and people talk about some of the great mobile quarterbacks that Alabama's had. If you line up in a foot race, Milroe might beat them all. The guy's a freak of an athlete. If they can refine the passing a little bit, it's a real challenge, man. It's really a challenge. And this is a team, obviously, that can kind of beat you by committee at running back. But it's interesting to note that all 3 quarterbacks for Alabama had carries. All 3 of them. Is that the wave of the future? Could be. North Carolina, 31-17 winners over South Carolina. About what we expected, right? I mean, South Carolina lost a lot. And there's so many people who are like, well, Spencer Rattler. Listen, all due respect to Spencer Rattler, he needs some help. It's not as simple as, okay, well, this is the guy that can go take over a game for us and go win. He's got to have some people around him. And North Carolina's defense last year was not good. And so it's the thing you look at and you begin to ask yourself, did North Carolina improve that much, or did South Carolina regress that much offensively? Could be a combination of both, likely is. But it's a 7-7 ball game after one, and then North Carolina, goes up 10-7, outscores them 10-7 in the second quarter to make it a 17-14 game. South Carolina, that crafty Shane Beamer comes out and they onside kick the opening kickoff of the second half. And then South Carolina jumps on it. A chance for them to at least get even and possibly take the lead. They had wrestled momentum away, and they end up turning it over on downs. I question the wisdom behind going for it on 4th down, because even though you didn't sustain a drive there, at least you kind of punched them in the mouth and you could flip the field a little bit. Instead, they go for it. They don't get it. Tar Heels go down and score. Now it's a 2-possession game. They score again, and at that point, the game is over. It's 31-14. South Carolina tacks on a field goal late. North Carolina defense, 9 sacks of Spencer Rattler. 9. He was 30 of 39. Depth of target was 9.1. 353 yards. They had a lot of run after the catch. Running-wise, absolutely abysmal. Absolutely terrible team rushing for South Carolina. You talk about a one-dimensional offense. And it wasn't like they were chasing the game the whole game. I mean, this is, it's a field goal game at the half. But you look up at this deal and you begin to ask yourself, how do you end up like this? Your leading rusher has 23 yards, and then your next 3 leading rushers are all negative. A lot of Bulldog fans feeling kind of optimistic about that game at South Carolina. I'm not ready to jump aboard that just yet. There will be some improvement. Not to mention, we put an FCS team, as did much of the league, but FCS or lower FBS programs. South Carolina played North Carolina, a team that's expected to maybe finish 3rd or 4th in the ACC on a neutral field. And again, Spencer Rattler did all he could do. He just simply doesn't have any help. But 9 sacks? You got to be kidding me, man. And Spencer Rattler at times will do some things to make you scratch your head. He'll take some chances. And a lot of that is because of the fact that I don't think he just believes in the people around him. Tries to do too much. And when you have people around you, it makes your quarterback more comfortable. He doesn't feel the obligation to take chances. And I think sometimes that kind of puts too much pressure on Spencer Rattler. They're going to go as far as he can take him. And I think what we saw on Saturday night is that unless Spencer Rattler gets some help, it's going to be a difficult year for the Carolina Gamecocks to be able to make a bowl game. I picked them 6-6, but I had this as a loss. So we'll see how things go. Obviously, there's just a lot left of football left to play, but this is a team that probably is not what their fans were hoping. Speaking of disappointed fans, how do you think the folks in Baton Rouge feel? Craziness, man. What an absolute beatdown in Orlando tonight as Florida State absolutely takes LSU to the woodshed. Your final is 45-24, and I'll tell you this, I have watched a lot of LSU football in my day. As a guy that lived in Baton Rouge for a while, had a lot of LSU friends, I can tell you, I've seen the Tigers play many times. I don't know that I've ever seen an LSU team quit in the second half like this one did. I mentioned that on Twitter, and some people were like, well, Steve, in 17, Dan Mullen and Nick Fitzgerald and Eris Williams kind of beat them up pretty good. Yeah, they were beat into submission that night. They quit tonight. And so if you're an LSU fan, you look at that and you're somewhat concerned, and they certainly should be. I mean, guys, this was a real ball game at the half. I mean, you look up at 17-14 LSU. They get that late field goal just before the break. It was all Florida State in the second half. 31 points unanswered, and then LSU gets a trash touchdown late on just basically a go route that Jaden Daniels throws up, and a guy comes down with it and makes a nice run to the end zone. But goodness gracious, 45-24. Kind of look at some numbers here, too. Pretty crazy stuff. Jordan Travis, a lot of people were talking about, hey, this is kind of a potential Heisman candidate showdown. Well, even though Jaden Daniels didn't play poorly, Jordan Travis with the better game. 23 of 31, depth of target 11 yards, 342 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns, and the 1 interception. Daniels 22 of 37. Depth of target 9.4, 347 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Daniels also led LSU in rushing with 64 yards. That's really the issue, if you ask me. As great as Daniels is, he's not the biggest guy. And if he's going to carry it 15, 16 times a ball game, he's going to get some big hits. And he did tonight against Florida State, a couple of really big licks there. But the leading rusher from the running backs had 44 yards. Outside of that, they didn't have a single rusher have more than 4 yards. That's not LSU football. It's not really Brian Kelly football. And so you kind of wonder, hey, did Florida State take them out of their game plan? I think they did, and they kind of put it on the arm of Jaden Daniels, and he did his best, but they simply couldn't get open. That's the thing, too, and I know some people say, Steve, you got a little sour grapes. Guys, when Greg Brooks was committed to Mississippi State, I didn't like the take. I know some other people did because they fall in love with the guys that they think Mississippi State's going to get. Watching the tape, I didn't like him. I thought he was too small. He had some pretty good speed. And I remember talking to Terrell Buckley. He said, really, we kind of like him as a punt returner and maybe as a reserve corner. Well, that makes sense. Well, then he goes to Arkansas, and that was a win for us. He was not good at Arkansas. He goes into the portal, and is now starting at LSU, and he will be featured prominently in Florida State's end of the year highlight video. It was incredible tonight. That's the thing I think about. LSU has always kind of fashioned themselves as DBU, and it's hard to argue against that. I thought that secondary tonight was not good. I thought there were several times, and even though Jordan Travis only had the 8 incompletions, there were a couple times that Florida State had receivers open and just couldn't make the connection. And that LSU offensive line got pushed around. And granted, the Florida State front's really, really good. They've played the portal game really well. But that said, that's not the brand of football we expect from LSU. Of course, they will get a little bit of a tune-up game next week. Before they head to Starkville. They'll take on Grambling in Tiger Stadium at 6:30 Eastern next Saturday night. And then, of course, the Bulldogs play Arizona. So LSU, as bad as today feels, they'll get a bit of a laugher next week. And let's not forget either, LSU lost this game to Florida State a year ago, but it was kind of fluky. If you remember, Malik Neighbors had a couple of muffs. So it was just some crazy stuff that happened in that game. This loss, totally different. And, of course, LSU last year, even after that, kind of quietly flew under the radar and got hot late. That's the sign of a good coaching staff and a team that's willing to accept coaching. Don't leave the Tigers dead and buried by any stretch of the imagination. There's not a lot of talent on that team. A lot of Bulldog fans now are kind of looking at that game here in a couple weeks saying, you know what, maybe we got a shot Saturday morning. Listen, it's always tough when you play LSU, whether it's in Starkville or in Baton Rouge, but certainly this Bulldog team is more talented than the one that went to LSU last year and had a lead in the fourth quarter. Just couldn't finish the deal because the defense ran out of gas because we could not sustain anything offensively. And that's going to be the real key for the Bulldogs, right? You're going to have to be able to go out there and sustain some drives. Florida State ran the football exceptionally well tonight against LSU. And that's probably what you'd expect from a Mike Norvell team. But I tell you this, there were times, especially late, that it just seemed like Florida State ran when they wanted to. Benson, 12 carries, 47 yards, and really kind of a by-committee approach. Jordan Travis, 38 yards rushing. Hill with 29. Toafili with 20. And so from a team standpoint, you look at it and say, hey, those numbers kind of add up to a decent number. But when you start doing the math on this and you start thinking about the fact that this LSU defense gave up a ton of offense tonight. And of course, a lot of that happens, in the second half when it appears that the game is in hand. And so I think when you look at it from Mississippi State's point of view is if you can go out and establish the run and be the more physical team, which is easier said than done, you got a chance to win. So again, looking back here, and again, I did pick LSU to win a close ball game. They didn't win, nor was it a close ball game. But it's a decent week. But the toss-up games, I guess we go 1-2 in the toss-up games. I did pick North Carolina to beat South Carolina. I thought that Utah would beat Florida, and Florida would cover. So as far as winners go, we get Utah correct and North Carolina correct, and LSU wrong. But that's the fun part of it, right? Quickly looking ahead here before we get ready to get out of here. Looking at next week, there will be a lot more competitive games. There should be. Real quickly, Vanderbilt visits Wake Forest. Ball State's at Georgia. East Kentucky at Kentucky. Ole Miss at Tulane. That could be a really interesting game. Texas A&M at Miami. Kent State at Arkansas. Austin Peay at Tennessee. Texas at Alabama. That's that primetime game that we're all looking forward to on ESPN. Middle Tennessee at Missouri, back-to-back weeks for the Blue Raiders against SEC opponents. Them and Ball State both in the check-collecting mode. Grambling at LSU, McNeese at Florida, Arizona at Mississippi State, Furman at South Carolina, and then Auburn at California. And you see that Auburn actually favored on the road against Cal. And I think they'll be in good shape. But we'll preview all that much later. But again, to kind of wrap up, State 1-0 now. Some things to feel really good about, some things to be a little concerned about, right? And I think that's a good place. Now, by the time you listen to this show, of course, I'm getting done with this around, 10:40 Sunday night. So we'll have this up for you, and you'll have a chance to listen to it in the morning hours or perhaps late tonight. I don't know your schedule. But anyway, we'll get Zach Arnett tomorrow at noon, and then, of course, coordinators tomorrow evening after practice. So look for full coverage again over at genespage.com. And if memory serves me correct, we had 16 stories on game day. 16 stories on game day. And right about 10 or so today. We'll do probably do a weekend wrap-up story for you. Tomorrow is Labor Day, so enjoy some time with your friends and family. Many of you will be off work. We'll be laboring here at genespage.com as we try to get you some more information and kind of set things up for the Bulldogs' weekend matchup against Arizona. For those of you that are unaware of that, Arizona, Mississippi State will kick it off at 6:30 p.m. Saturday night. So it will be a night game, and so please make plans to attend. It's kind of open the show with. Really need you guys to be here and be a part of that. Arizona Wildcats win against Northern Arizona 38-3 in week one. And that was a bit of a ball game after a quarter, 7-3, but Arizona gets it going. We will preview Arizona, kind of break them down on Friday and kind of prepare you for the weekend. But should be an entertaining ball game. And we'll recap kind of what happened last year and look ahead to see what Arizona's doing this year. But again, you don't know a lot about Mississippi State after playing Southeastern. You don't know a lot about Arizona after playing Northern Arizona. It'll be a real test for both teams. You feel good about where Mississippi State stands right now. Most books have us as an 8.5, 9-point favorite in this ball game. There was some tweets earlier. Some minor books had State a much bigger favorite. But State will be a single-digit favorite, probably settle somewhere around the touchdown. I do like State's chances in the ball game, and we'll break that down more later in the week. But either way, happy Labor Day to you and your family. If you hadn't done so, go to whenthebottomfalls.com. You can pre-order my new book. It'll be out in a few weeks. It's basically my life and my pathway to recovery and living life in recovery. And all the great things that have happened to me along the way and a lot of the bad things that have happened. I'm very transparent in this book. I'm trying to help people that suffer from addiction. And it's not just a book about addiction, even though that's a big part of things. It's really, it's kind of like an underdog story in many respects. And there is some sports stuff in there, but not a whole lot. But if you're looking for my sports work, you can find it there at whenthebottomfalls.com. You can get copies of Alpha Dog, Stark Villains, Flim Flam, and Dogpile, and every Bulldog deserves a copy of Dogpile. If you don't have one, whether you read or not, you're going to want to have this to kind of commemorate the fact that your university won the national championship in the College World Series in 2021. Be sure and check that out. And if you need Stark Villains gear, very easy to find. Go to starkvillains.com. Very happy to partner with a great local company that's putting those shirts together for us. And 50% off the annual subscription price at genespage.com. Come by and be a part of our merry band of misfits. And again, unprecedented coverage. We're always looking to raise the bar. It's one of the reasons that I keep adding staff. I got some guys too at some point. They're going to retire. Guys are going to leave. That's part of it. But we have a standard to maintain, and it's something that I take very, very seriously. We like to be able to say that we are the ultimate authority on Mississippi State athletics, and we will continue to do that. That's always going to be our goal. Always going to be our focus, because that's what you deserve. Simple as that. You deserve the most extensive coverage you can possibly find, and you're going to find it every single day at genespage.com, the Mississippi State affiliate for 247 Sports. Hey, that's it for today. Again, we'll be back on Wednesday, and happy to get this show up for you a little bit earlier than normal. I couldn't wait to record, but also got some plans in the morning, and then we got to see our nets. It's a busy day on Monday. I'm just trying to kind of clear the deck a little bit. So when I can, I will try to do the Monday show on Sunday night, Sunday evening, so you guys can have the full day on Monday to check that out. And also with it being a holiday, maybe you want to sit around the pool and put the earbuds in and listen to the show. But all that said, congratulations, Bulldog family. We're 1-0, right where we expected to be. We're prepared to go play the Arizona Wildcats here in Week 2. Until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.